this is the Thedigimonemperor here, aka Toriichi on other websites that I use, and I just wanted to real quickly show you how I do my Yu-Gi-Oh! Base art. Here, as you can see, I take Yu-Gi-Oh! Bases that other people have made, and I edit them, putting in my own characters and changing colors and whatever. And most people use MS Paint for this, but I have been using a different program as of late, and I really wanted to show you how I do that. See, here is a piece I did recently. And down here is the original base done by AraragiBases. They have some interesting bases. You should go check them out. I just really wanted to show you how I make these. Now, real quickly, things you're going to need before we even start are two different programs. One of these is GIMP, more precisely GIMP 2. It is a freeware, and you're going to need that to make the file bigger. You could do this in MS Paint, but I would not recommend it. I definitely recommend using GIMP. It is a lot easier to do. The second program you're going to need, of course, is Paint Tool Sci, which is another freeware. It does not matter if you have the full version or the free version. You will be able to do this with any version of it, and just for the record, if you want a transparent background with your base or your characters, you are going to need a version of Photoshop, because Paint Tool Sci does not save PNG files with a transparent background even when you want it to. Why? I don't know. I still haven't been able to figure this out, but as of right now, Photoshop is the only way to go. I have a basic version. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to pick a base. I'm going to pick this base here by AraragiBases. Awesome person. See, right down there, AraragiBases. The funny thing is I actually haven't done a Yugi base. I've done Yami Yugi, I've done like pretty much every other character, but I've never actually done one with Yugi, so I'm actually really excited. And what you're going to do is you're going to save the file anywhere on your computer. Make sure to save it as a PNG. If you don't save it as a PNG, it's going to look like garbage. PNG is the best quality to save your photos in. Alright, we're going to close that out. I'm going to go back to wherever, and I'm going to open GIMP. Alright, with GIMP open, I'm going to open the file I just downloaded. Oh, there we are. Open that. And here's where you need to listen. You are going to go up to the action bar, and you are going to click on Image, right up here. And you're going to click Scale Image and choose whatever size you want. It will automatically adjust size. I use 1920 by whatever height it chooses. I like 1920 the best for what size I'm going to use. And make sure the size is in pixels, not percent, inches, millimeters, points, and all that, etc. Make sure it's in pixels. It's a lot easier that way. And you can see we have instantly resized the picture. It's a little blurry, but that is exactly what we want. Now you're going to first of all, do not save as. It will save it as a different file. You want to export. You will click Export As, and you will make sure to export it as a PNG. Do not overwrite the file you just made. You want to keep that for color reference. So move that either into a different place or rename it. I'm just going to move it to my actual place where I put these bases and stuff. Alright, and we are done here. Go ahead and discard your changes and X out of GIMP. Hee Bat fleck. You're going to now open Paint Tool Sci, and you are going to open the file you just made bigger with GIMP. And there it is. Alright, now you can see it is much bigger now than what it was. Look at that. Whee! I make it do stuff. I make it move. Okay, so what you're gonna want to do first and foremost is you are going to want to open two separate layers on your file. First thing you're going to want to open is a new layer, which is just a blank layer. And the second one you are going to want to open is a line work layer, which is all the way over here. Make sure to open them in that order, and then you are going to save as, and you want to make sure that you save this file as a sci file. That way you can edit your layers. You can change the name, or you can keep the name. I'm going to keep the name and change it later. Maybe. I usually keep the sci files the same. Alright, and here is where we're going to get started. What you're going to want to do first is you're going to want to rename all your layers to keep track of them, because you can have up to multiple layers in a piece like this, and it's very hard to keep track of them. So try to rename them and mesh them together as much as possible. Alright, so what we're going to start with the background. We're going to change the background color to a color that is currently not in this photo. So in this photo, I'm going to go with a green color. It's kind of hard on the eyes, but it's nowhere in this picture here, and it'll make our work a lot easier. So you're going to take the background that you just made, and you're going to just paint it green. Just paint that sucker green. And then you are going to change the opacity of it, or opacity, whatever you want to call it, to about 30-ish%. That will make it easier for you to see the line work that you are about to do. Alright, now we are ready to start with the line work. You're going to go up to your line work area. I use number 2. I like the size of it. It looks very canon. And what you're going to do is, whoopsies, I forgot to change the color of my line to black, is you are going to take a black line, preferably in whatever size you want, and you are going to start outlining the character. And you are just going to outline the entirety of one character at a time, just black outline everything. Now, what you're going to want to do while you're outlining is you're going to want to make sure that all of your black lines match up to each other. They absolutely have to be touching. This will be vital for later, because when you go to use the bucket tool to fill in everything, if the lines are not touching, the bucket is going to try to fill other areas that you don't want filled. So as you may notice that I get in really close from time to time and just adjust the lines to make sure that they are all touching. I also get rid of the background image from time to time to make sure everything is symmetrical, because sometimes the images aren't, and I like everything to look a little different. I also like to change facial features. As you can see, I'm changing the mouth here. I also don't like this chain here at all, so I will go in a minute and remove that. I'm going to change that. I'm just going to make it a string because I don't like the chain, and I'm a little too lazy today to fix it. Alright, so as you can see, we have completely finished the outline of Yugi Moto. I wanted to show it to you without the original image. You're going to make one more line work layer, and you're going to rename it to detailing or extra work. We're going to need an extra line work layer to work with, because we are going to add the lining for the shading and all the detailing that is on Yugi, such as the shading of his hair, the shading on his face, if you want to add shading to his eyes. That's what you're going to want to do with this, and you're going to want to take all the individual colors that you're going to use, such as the color for his skin, and you're going to want to make a line for that. You're going to want to just outline everything in its proper coloring. Real quickly here, I want to note that it is very important that you save as often as possible, because you don't want to lose progress. I can't tell you how many times I have worked for hours on a piece and then lost progress. Now that you have finished this, you are going to make another layer for the new character. Make sure it is a line art layer, and just name it insert character, whatever character your name is here. So I'm just going to name it as my character. Yeah, that's my name. Suck it. 13-year-old weeb can't do it. Now you have to make sure, it's very important that you stay on this layer when you are doing the new character, otherwise things can really get messy. And what you're going to want to do is just, again, using the same black outline the character, and make sure to keep the lines as closely touching as possible, because again, the bucket tool will be your worst nightmare if you do not do this properly. Alright, now that you are done with this layer, you are going to add one more layer, and this is the layer you will be using to add clothing to your character. I prefer to do this in a separate layer, that way I can get rid of any extra lines from underneath the character's actual skin layer. It's just easier for me that way. It also gives you a little more control over clothing. My character's clothing's pretty simple and you can barely see any of it right now anyways. All you can see is just the straps of her tank top, so works for me. I am currently using this time to edit little bits and details of the body that I don't like, such as the hairline, the ear, and other little details. I'm definitely going to be doing this before I add in the line detailing for where the shading is supposed to be. This is probably something you should do as well. And of course, me being the moron that I am, I totally forgot to make the extra layer for the shading beforehand, so I'll end up having it on 2 layers. I could have undid it, but in my sleep-deprived state, I just don't give a fuck, to be quite honest. So here I am. I'm currently going in, adding all of the detailing for where I want the shading to start and end. Again, make sure all these lines are connected. In the end, you are going to want to connect all of your line art together. This will help to prevent bucket fills from going into places you don't want them to go. It's just simpler that way. It's much easier. Make sure to add the correct colors to the correct places for your characters. Alright, so this is an area of the piece where having a drawing tablet will come in great handy if you don't want to use the bucket tool, because the drawing tablet will allow you to make more precise strokes. This is a prime place I use to do facial features, such as filling in the eyes and eyebrows and eyelashes, pupils, irises, mouths, nose details. Smaller details on clothing I do by hand using a tablet. If you don't have a tablet, that's okay. You can use the fill tool. Just know that you will have to go in with your mouse and fill in some of the details that are left out, because the bucket tool doesn't fill everything. Also, as a very quick note, make sure to do each separate color on a separate layer and then merge the layers down as you go. This will make it a lot easier for filling in spaces. Now it is at this point in time that you will use the bucket tool to fill in all colored spaces according to their specified colors. This is why you should keep the original base as is, so you can use the color references on there, or you can make your own, but it works really well so you'll know what colors go where, because the base underneath is kind of blurry. It doesn't work very well for that. Just fill in every area that you can. If a bucket fill fills in another area that you don't want it to, zoom in on the lines to make sure that the lines are all touching. That's why keeping the line layers all together helps to keep this from happening. Now we are at the final countdown. This is where you add your background, your designated background of choice. You can use your pre-existing photo. I choose not to. I choose to just take multiple colors and merge them together. As you can see, I'm fiddling around with black and white until I decide to make a night sky of sorts. You can do whatever you want with this. If you're going to make it transparent, you're going to need to save the file as a PSD and open it in Photoshop. Make sure that the backgrounds and everything are blank before doing this, and then save it as a PNG in Photoshop, and that will give it a transparent background. You will notice that there are gaps in between some of the coloring, such as coloring on the hair and coloring between the shading of the face. What you're going to want to do is, again, take your drawing tablet or your mouse, and you are going to take the darkest color of each of those, and you are going to color them in, and that will get rid of the spacing between them. It's unsightly. The only way to get rid of this is to color the entire piece by hand, which takes a lot longer, and I would only recommend doing that if you have the time to do it, or if you absolutely are just like, no way, I'm not having spaces whatsoever. But I never upload my photos to full size on DeviantArt anyways, so you can't tell that the spaces are there. And that's about it. That's how I take Yu-Gi-Oh! Base and edit it using Paint Tool Sai. I know this tutorial wasn't the greatest tutorial in the world, but again, I am extremely sleep deprived and my focuses are a little disoriented, along with my editing skills. But I hope this video helps those, or at least gives you inspiration into trying new things. Thanks a lot for watching, and oh my god, cat, now he meows. Yes, alright, I'm coming.